All right, everybody. Thank you for either coming here because you wanted to or looked at the time, realized it's Sunday on the last day of a convention and went, oh, God, it's this or the vendor hall again. Okay, I better find a room with air conditioning. This is the Kingdom Hearts 4 fan panel, otherwise known as, I hope we don't speculate too much about things that are going to seem like Internet 4chan theories. My name is Spencer Presley. I am the resident Kingdom Hearts dweeb. Feel free, if you at any point during this have an opinion, a question, or just want to challenge me in my title of Kingdom Hearts nerd at any time, you're welcome to. So, Kingdom Hearts 4 got announced. If you guys want, what's the vibe check? Are we excited? Are we hyped? Are we optimistic? Nervous? So, just to get a vibe of the room then, we're going to do a quick 1, 2, 3 check. So I'm going to say each name of the games, and you guys just give me what's the first, emotion your, vocal cords think of when I say this game title. Kingdom Hearts 1. Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 2. Yeah. And the 2019 Game of the Year, Kingdom Hearts 3. I appreciate how that wasn't much quieter than I was expecting. That makes me feel better. I love Kingdom Hearts 3. I know it's got a lot of thoughts out there. But, who thought we were going to be... obviously, the Xehanort saga, the Dark Seeker saga is over. We are now entering a new saga for Kingdom Hearts. It's a brave new world. I didn't think we'd be starting with this much information for the 20th anniversary, but hey, better to have something to celebrate than endless speculation and merchandise options. Although, I don't know if anyone here has seen the Tokyo Disney Kingdom Hearts hotel room. Yeah. If I could die in a hotel room, I'd love to be murdered there. That's how great it looks. The keys, the paintings, I do love... Unless there's one I've not seen, it's 2 full-size beds, one Sora, one Kairi, because of course they would never sleep on the same bed together. One bed's for Sora and Riku, the other bed is for Kairi and Naminé. So we're going to do a quick refresher, just because I like to talk about all the other things that have come up recently, and because there's really not that much Kingdom Hearts 4 stuff we could talk about. So in the last couple of years, we've had Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, which to many, I would hope, was the kind of definitive ending of 3. Not that 3 didn't have a definitive ending, but more so of hey, there were things kind of missing that some people might have expected from 3, like an actual challenge for a super boss. This definitely delivered with that. Where was Kairi? Why is Kairi so bad at everything she's doing? What could we do? Things like that. And I personally really, really liked it. It's still one of my favorite pieces of DLC I've done. For $30, it's definitely a little steep for what it's asking, but it is one of those things with Kingdom Hearts 3, I would never say, oh, it's skippable. Not like there's anything in the series you could really skip with it, but for me, Remind was just a really interesting attempt at not course-correcting the ending, but just kind of giving a different avenue and a little bit more exposure of hey, maybe the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3 isn't incredibly sad with no hope of optimism at all. My only real complaint with it is that I'm sad Rutger Hauer died and had to be recast, because apparently you can't voice Xemnas or you can't voice Xehanort without dying, apparently. And it's really sad because obviously we had George Takei. Rutger Hauer did an amazing job replacing him. And I love Christopher Lloyd, so I hope this role doesn't kill him. But I mean, if there's any actor who apparently is going to look old forever, Christopher Lloyd is a really, really good fit for it. I hope that, by the way, no one knew Christopher Lloyd got recast. And they were like, what happened in this alternate universe? This Xehanort's so different. He sounds like a completely different man from a different nationality. So it is obviously now on PC, but launched on PS4 and Xbox One and all of that other things with it there. Does anyone here have any other hot takes or opinions on Remind? Anything they want to shout out or just say, boy, I sure love that Yozora guy? No. Actually, who here has beaten Yozora? This is a safe space. You can be honest. Who here has died to Yozora? Shout out though to Nomura for making the canon ending. For Remind, it's like, listen, you weren't gonna beat him probably your first time. You're not like some immortal god for it. So if you also, I guess we should give a shout out to Remind is the only way you're going to get any Final Fantasy characters in Kingdom Hearts 3. But I'm one of those probably people in the minority of I love Final Fantasy. But Kingdom Hearts, its OG, like its OC characters and its cast is so big now that it's like as much as I love new characters to come, we have such a large cast of characters that we need to learn more about or finish their story that, like, I'm sorry, Noctis, you can wait. Like, we got other things we got to do.
We still got to find out what happened to Sephiroth and Cloud.
That's the only one. Sephiroth and Cloud, that's one that, like, that has to come to an ending at some point. And I am definitely in the brain hair scheme of, I think Nomura is crazy enough that he's going to make Smash canon. He's going to be like, no, this was canon. Cloud and Sephiroth and Sora all met in Smash Brothers, and then they had to finish the fight somewhere else. Like, they're going to be like that crazy about it. As we were talking a little bit before the panel started, also Melody of Memory had released one of the weirdest release dates, so people don't remember, that's actually 11/11/2022. Sorry, 2020 was the day of the week of PS5 and the day of Xbox Series X and all that. So if you have your brand new $500 gaming system, you could play a rhythm game with a bunch of PS2 and PSP assets, but I was that guy. Can't recommend this game enough. If you love the music, and as long as all of you can hear the sound of my voice, you probably like Kingdom Hearts' music. It's got over 100 songs, really, really good. It's on everything and is super, super fun. Now, one I wanted to ask everyone here, I don't know how much of an opinion we all have about this. Who here has a Switch? Who here paid $90 for Kingdom Hearts? Oh, those hands went down fast. All right, we got one who paid for it. Now, were you like, God, I've got to launder some money? Like, what was the reason you had to spend this $90?
Yeah, pretty much. I had just gotten paid and was like, you know what? Bet Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts on the go. Let's go.
That would be a bet, but honestly, it is one of those fun ones. I do at least recommend people check out the demo. There are little like demos if you do want to see. Wow, it's Kingdom Hearts streaming on my Switch. Like, it does what it's told to. I know a lot of people were disappointed they're not native ports. There's obviously nothing stopping everything but Kingdom Hearts 3. By the way, definitely check out Kingdom Hearts 3 streaming on Switch. That's chunky. That's a chunky boy demo. But so I've always been kind of in a weird camp of like, I like that Kingdom Hearts has been coming to more platforms. It's great that it came to Xbox, PC, and I would have loved to see native ports on Switch, but I like Kingdom Hearts especially was one of those series that, like, wherever this series went, I bought a console for. It's why I had a GBA. It's why I had a DS, a 3DS. I literally bought the 3DS the day Dream Drop came out. It was just one of those things of like, I always followed this series where it came from. Let's just say we live in a miracle world. By the time Kingdom Hearts 4 came out, and it's on whatever Switch platform you're running on, like, would Kingdom Hearts 4 be something you guys would jump consoles for, or are you just like, okay, well, I hope it comes to PlayStation because I'm not going anywhere else? Yeah, obviously there's no announced consoles for it, but considering the visuals they're going for, I don't think they're going to be like, all right, now we're gonna render this one for the Switch Pro. We got it. So it's a bummer, but obviously it was a low stakes kind of port for Square. It wasn't like, they're not like saying, hey, you guys better buy this or else you're never getting anything for the Switch again. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done stuff like Melody of Memory, getting like a physical release there. And it was one of those things of, it's thankfully not been treated like a hostage situation, but it definitely, until I think the more recent news was kind of a black eye of like, man, that really stinks because people love these games. I'm sure people would love to play these portably on the go. We've really only had like 2 games portably with Birth by Sleep and Dream Drop, so having the whole series on the go. Well, sorry, shout out to Chain of Memories as well.
Yeah.
So it's a bummer, but not the end of the world. Now, next up, speaking of Kingdom Hearts on the go, I can't believe I forgot this guy. Who here has played Kingdom Hearts Key? So we had multiple releases for this one. Thank to all of you who have played it. So the history of this mobile story, which keeps trying to die, but apparently Nomura won't let it die, or can't finish the story on time and let it die. So Kingdom Hearts Key originally released as a PC browser game, only in Japan in 2013, eventually became Unchained Key on iOS and Android. Then we got Union Cross. Union Cross is probably how most people know it. I don't know why they chose to rebrand it. It's not like the series is like, oh, you guys don't like 358 over... Okay, we'll change it. And then released in 2020, I think probably this has to be like the most underplayed. Who here's played Dark Road? So Dark Road is not necessary for the story, but it is necessary if you've ever thought to yourself, hey, I'd like to know what was Xehanort up to and Master Ericus and all of them up there. And it's played a lot more of an integral role without getting into any spoilers because it's been left on a huge cliffhanger. The funny thing about Dark Road and Union X was it definitely had a large fan base, but was one of those things that because it was canon, because it tied into the story. Spoilers, because most people probably don't know this. There's a Wreck-It Ralph world canon in Kingdom Hearts. It was only in the mobile game, which hurt extra hard because Wreck-It Ralph seemed perfect for a console. Yeah. So also Union Cross is a very special one for me. If I'm extremely like not anti-gacha, but like anti-spending money on gacha games, this is the only one that got me. Of like I remember specifically it was like some of the earlier like ones was like, hey, do you want Steamboat Willie as a medal? And I was like, I do. Well, you've got to play this for 500 hours or give us $15. And I was like, how bad could it be? And then obviously, as anyone here who plays gacha will be like, once you allow yourself to pay that first 15, those others just get really easy. And until they pull the plug on that game, it can be pretty devastating. But the funny thing is, though, because the story was canon and everything else with it, I would always recommend people check out the story for Union Cross. It's got a disgusting amount of filler. I will not lie to you. It's like if any Star Wars fans in here can relate to, you can't just tell someone, hey, watch the Clone Wars. They're out of order, they're messy, they're canon, but there's a lot of stuff you can forget. You can forget all the Jar Jar Binks episodes. Like Kingdom Hearts Union Cross was very much like that, of like, the story you played versus the story you needed was like 80-20%. And a lot of it was like either you played it for the multiplayer, you played it for the story when it came on. There was a lot of kind of messy things with it, which unsurprisingly kind of led to this news after Dark Road's release. The game died in 2021. Now, it died with like air quotes next to it. It died as in it was shut down. They let us know. I don't think we were like that surprised it was shut down. The only thing was like all 5 of us Dark Road fans were like, hey, you didn't finish that story. And you're probably not going to make a like weird HD collection where you complete it. So what they ended up doing was they announced while the game was being shut down, they're actually doing something. I don't know any other gacha game that's done this. They are going to make an offline version where you can experience all of the story, and hopefully they cut out a lot of the other stuff. The integral story you would want if you'd like to learn about all these characters. Like, hey, who's that guy who looks like Ventus? That's not Ventus. That was a long time ago. Who's that guy who looks like Marluxia? Who's this dead lady I keep hearing about? Like, it looks very cute. There's a lot of like sad, honestly, really sad stuff that happens in Union Key. So it's nice that they're going to make an offline version for people to experience that's not just some guy's YouTube video or a weird panel. This will not be the place where we'll go over all the story details. That would be a horrifyingly long conversation. But Dark Road finally finishing up will be nice. So far we know Dark Road will be released in August, so it's actually not that far from now. And we actually just got that this year. There you go, sad graveyard scene. But August 2022, it is finally happening. I will recommend to all of you, at least check it out. If you like the story, and assuming they trim this up and make it a little bit more digestible, it is interesting. You do learn a lot of interesting facts, especially if you're someone like me who played Kingdom Hearts 3 and went, God, I would like to know about Scala at Kylum, but apparently all they do is swing Keyblades around and play chess all day. But there is more. They actually do things there.
All of us are just out here, give me the lore.
Yes. And contrary to what all the main art thinks, it's not just a bunch of people looking cute or handsome all the time. There is actual lore in this game. Just out of curiosity, who here played or didn't like Union X? Because I actually liked how it played. It wasn't like it was like a perfect game for it, but it was an interesting kind of attempt at using metals of like feeling like an action RPG without actually being you're doing live combat. Because that then leads to our next game that, I'm sorry, it's not Kingdom Hearts 4, but I feel like not a lot of people are talking about this. Who here is aware of Kingdom Hearts Missing Link? Who here is excited for Missing Link? So the trailer's weird. Like, it's a mobile, vertical, or horizontal action RPG, but I don't think most people know about this. Like, who here is aware that it is a Pokemon Go-like game? So probably a better example, but most Western fans haven't played it because they never released. There is a game called Dragon Quest Walk. That is, you have your character. It is a made character in the world. You are experiencing stories, quests, missions, and you go to dungeons and you fight things off. This is going to be in that setup, except there's also going to be a canon Kingdom Hearts story where you make your Keyblade wielder. Obviously, it primarily seems to be in the Dark Road kind of era where things are taking place. But what's interesting is the gameplay is actually action. You can play it vertical like this, doing all your commands as you would, or landscape if you'd like. And it seems weirdly ambitious. They're using the engine from Kingdom Hearts 3, so if your phone is really old or cheap, prepare for it to like play for 30 minutes and then light on fire. But yeah, it's really interesting. The beta goes into effect this summer or fall for, I know, in North America and Japan at least, so I know we should be good, which is actually kind of rare because for a lot of phone betas, they normally like to do like Canada, Australia, and then Japan because they're like a smaller test bed. But I think because this is a mobile game and it's Kingdom Hearts, it has to have lore, there's going to be stuff really tied to it. So I'm really optimistic with this one, but I'm kind of curious for all of you, if you all had any questions about it, I might be able to kind of suss out a little bit of just how it's going to work, making your character traveling. If you're someone who, by the way, doesn't like games like Pokemon Go, you can play it in a stationary way. There will be ways to like bring dungeons to you, but it is going to be one of those things of it's incentivizing you to go out into the world and find your missing link or be the missing link and stuff like that. Yeah.
I'm just more curious about how we could possibly make brain using control all this.
How we could what?
How brain could be control all this. That's brain is impossible.
Yeah, so yeah, and then the connections for everything is going to be really, really weird. Of like, I'm hoping it's not like my fear of like how it's connected is they're gonna like melody of memory it, where you're going back in time and then you're jumping back and going forth that will make the explanation for why you are probably one of a million people all doing the same thing. Because I don't think they're gonna go with the Keyblade like wielders and unions again. That would be weird considering where they ended Kingdom Hearts Union. But yeah, I'm just really hoping for this to be good, hopefully last longer, because like my goal is dream with like something like this, especially with how like serious they're kind of going with the presentation and in a post Genshin Impact world. I would like for mobile games to be treated as less kind of like play them for 5 years, throw them away, disposable stuff. I'd like the thing of like, let's put them on consoles. Like, there's no reason this couldn't run. Like, if there's a stationary way to play this, it'd be cool to have it on, definitely probably couldn't run on Switch, but PS4, Xbox, stuff like that, and PC. Because there are a lot of, like, free-to-play people who like the idea of games like that, but I think part of going back to something like Genshin's success is it's not just on phones. There are people who like the idea of some free-to-play games, but just don't like playing on their phones. I'm definitely one of them. I'm terrible about playing games on my phone, even when I like playing games on my phone. Okay. So, also, yes, similar to Pokemon Go and Dragon Quest Walk. So, here we go. The big guy, and where I hope you will all be a little bit more chatty or opinionated. I'm very curious. We had a very, very nice look at Kingdom Hearts 4 just a couple of weeks ago. And for as much as they included, I think it raised about 1 million more questions. Now, there were many interviews after the fact. I was curious, though, for any of you out here, did anyone have like one or multiple burning questions after watching the trailer? You were like, hey, what does that mean? What is this? What's that? Yeah.
Where is he?
So there's not a name for it. He's in Quadratum or whatever like that. So he's in and I'm probably going to mess this part up. If you played the ending of 3, Remind, and Melody of Memory, there's a thing about there was the world of like sleep and like the world of dreams. He's in a dreamlike world because we can't send people to HE double hockey sticks. It's Kingdom Hearts, and
I don't know. Hades is in the trailer.
well, Hades is in the underworld. So yeah, we'll have that for it. So it's an interesting thing of like he's definitely like. If I had to compare it, I would say the Dream Drop thing is probably the simplest way of he's in a alternate universe that is just like whereas there was dreams, whereas there was the realm of sleep, the realm of dreams are basically probably more vast, more universes, more than just Disney. Hence why we see this nameless world is very inspired by real life Tokyo, which, by the way, nothing against The World Ends With You. I'm really glad it's not a World Ends With You world. It'll be like they could throw them in there, but I think because of how kind of forgettable they were in 3D, like it was cool to see Neko and all of them in there, but I think like when people remember like guest characters from Kingdom Hearts, people don't necessarily remember the World Ends With You characters for it. But are there any of you here World Ends With You fans perchance? So like how do you think would be a fulfilling way to bring that cast of characters back without it kind of feeling shoehorned in? Because I felt like throwing them into Traverse Town just felt really like, okay, well, we're not going to give you your own world, but you can just get dumped here or whatever.
Well, put Sora in Shibuya instead.
See, but then like I feel like unless like there's no other new characters, although man, I don't think seeing Sora look like that would surprise a lot of people. If we put World Ends With You characters looking like that, that'd be like where you see like those AI renderings of like anime drawings and they have like way too many details on their face.
I feel like you could put the pins in and have that lead to a flashback to insert World Ends With You and have him see the pins in real life and have that be the trigger for that. But honestly, it's not going to be really good.
I mean, because they specifically call out Shibuya in Dream Drop, right? Where they're like, hey, where are you guys from? I'm from Destiny Island. We're like, oh, we're from Shibuya or whatever. Like, oh, we got to get back there. So, like, they're very specific about it. Although, considering this version of, presumably, Japan has a different crossing, that could be the explanation. My thought mostly went to, if they're in like a realistic looking Shibuya, the World Ends With You Shibuya is probably a whole different world that they're in, and they're probably more looking like Neo Ends With You. Anyone else who had like any other kind of questions from like the yeah?
Since this does have to do with like the multiverse and stuff, as you said, what are the chances in a Marvel or Star Wars world?
I have a lot more to say about the Star Wars thing, but I'll get to that later. I think Marvel is a little bit more shut and dry because I think, and Nomura's talked about Star Wars way more than he has with Marvel. I love all of like the Disney, Marvel, Star Wars property thing for it, but I think Marvel would almost like have to be its own game. It's just got a lot of baggage, and not in a bad way, but it's like honestly, like even just if you did Doctor Strange, like Doctorverse and the Kingdom Hearts of Madness could be like its own game of like characters, let alone you have to think about X-Men, Avengers, of Defenders, like Midnight Suns. There's so many different it's like there'd be no way to implement Marvel without leaving a party abandoned in a way. Whereas like with Star Wars, love it or hate it, it's really eventually it all comes back to a central group of characters you see over and over and over. So Marvel's one like I would really like, but like for me, I think the closest we'd get in a quick timeline would be like maybe a secret boss would be a Marvel character, like coming through a portal. Like I could see it like that, like similar to a Sephiroth thing. But then my question is like if you like for all of you, who's someone in Marvel you would want to see or think would make sense with Kingdom Hearts?
Spider-Man.
Doctor Strange.
See, mine I was thinking of would be Guardians of the Galaxy. Just because they're all so weird already, I think Donald and Goofy and Sora could fit in with Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Drax, and them a lot more. So Peter Quill's just be the only normal dude there. He'd be like, "Where are you guys from?" "I'm from I'm from Missouri," or whatever he's from. Yeah, because then I'm like, I love X-Men. I don't think Sora's mature enough for Charles Xavier's Institute for Gifted Minds. He'd be like, "So hold on, your powers are ice." "Yes. And you're a man. What do we call you?" "Iceman." "No, this is too much for me. I can't get around this." Fantastic Four, I thought it was interesting you all went to Spider-Man, whereas, like, I almost think, like, it'd be interesting because, yeah, Sora's personality with Peter Parker would be very, very fitting, I think. My attempt at, like, if they wanted to do it and really get, like, because I wouldn't want, like, MCU Marvel. I would kind of want them to do their own thing. Like, the closest with Spider-Man, I think, would make sense and really work well for what Kingdom Hearts tries to do and also is going into the going all over the place. I think Spider-Verse would be perfect. Because obviously you're going to have a lot more characters and a lot more art styles, and finally the Disney characters don't have to worry about changing themselves. Just be like, okay, whatever, you can be with Spider-Man Noir and everyone else like that, and it has a 1% chance we get Oscar Isaacs in a Kingdom Hearts game, which I would really love. And then people have brought it up of like, oh, well, Sony and Spider-Verse things for it, but like out of any of the people who would probably give up Spider-Man to be in a thing, I'm sure Kingdom Hearts is just bougie enough for them to probably like cut a check to make that work. Yeah.
I think the problem with having like Marvel and Star Wars be in Kingdom Hearts is that you might get the Frozen treatment where it could be really cool and have the potential to be awesome, and just the ball gets dropped.
See, I think the Frozen treatment's an interesting one. Like, I think of Frozen was matching Kingdom Hearts Frozen was matching the movie too well. Because Frozen is an incredibly big IP, but a terrible world, and to no fault of their own. Like, the story of Frozen does not work as a action-adventure story. And, like, the funny thing is, like, if they had just waited and made it Frozen 2... Frozen 2 is basically a level from Kingdom Hearts in terms of you're going to a new place, you're fighting new places, going different areas and things like that. Whereas like I think of something like The Little Mermaid. Like Little Mermaid's like good for you for trying in one, but like there's a reason they stopped after two. Like you can't really gamify a movie like The Little Mermaid as much as you can with other ones. Like yeah, Frozen 1 definitely kind of suffers from that. And yeah, like, so for all of you, like, do you think, by the way, is there anyone here who doesn't like the art style? Assuming this is what Sora will maybe look like for most of the game. How did you all feel about the visual change?
I don't like it. He's too pretty.
He's too pretty?
I don't like it.
His hair, I hope cosplayers saw this and went, his hair is the most doable it's ever been. Because I love listen, it always seems mean, but I love Kingdom Hearts more than almost any other video game franchise, and I appreciate cosplayers. I don't think I've ever looked at someone who was like 1-to-1 cosplaying a Kingdom Hearts character and went, nailed it. It's always like the clothes are a little off, the hair, like it's like the most unreplicable style for like 1-to-1 like cosplay. It's like one of those things where it's like, I'm so glad people keep trying, but man, I don't envy anyone who's like, I'm gonna do Axel's hair. That's my next wig. Yeah. My thoughts for this is like, I'm kind of hoping this is our first one where not solo, but like they don't have to come with you to every world. Like Donald and Goofy, like always being with Sora was always a nice like friendship and bonds thing, but like and Kingdom Hearts 3 definitely opened it up by not having only 2 party members assist. It was nice that we could have like up to 4. Like the fact that we could have Mike and Sully or Buzz and Woody being your allies and stuff was like fun with it. But it mostly led to the thing of most worlds outside of maybe Kingdom Hearts 1. I think Kingdom Hearts 1, because you were introducing those characters, Donald and Goofy proved that they added something to the story, but really them being there never really had much of an effect as the story progressed, like outside of jokes. Like I think of a great way to use Donald and Goofy in a world story-wise is like Tarzan. I think of Sora and Donald fighting. Like that's a good one of like, hey, they're learning and they're fighting and they're bickering. Whereas like I think of like, what's one thing Donald and Goofy did in Big Hero 6? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, like that's the most memorable thing, like outside of like the endings, like and moments and stuff they have. So it's like I love Donald and Goofy, and I always want, and there always will be, primarily Disney focused for a lot of things for it. But like I think it would make moments mean more. Like how even though Mickey Mouse is like one of the most popular characters of all time, he's in Kingdom Hearts just enough. Like there's that era of mystery to King Mickey. Like if King Mickey was like in any other video game, him being playable in Kingdom Hearts 2 wouldn't have been cool. Because Mickey's playable in a bajillion games. Like they'll loan him out to anyone. But like the fact that like remember, you didn't even see Mickey Mouse until the end of Kingdom Hearts 1. It was like, whoa, they got Mickey Mouse for this game. Like it was cool because like they really did a good job of like making him feel like an important person in the story. And even when he's not King Mickey in like the prequel games, it's still very much like it has an era of mystery to him. The only thing really I think we can say against King Mickey, he's probably like a really terrible husband. Like when has he ever like hung out with like Minnie at all? She's just waiting there for him the whole time. Oh, what? I mean, to be fair, Donald and Daisy's relationship is like more of like, he probably never asked her out. She just said, we're going out now. Like Donald like is probably like, oh, thank God, I don't have to be near like Daisy or whatever, like right now. Oh, I will say this. I just thought of this with like current stuff with it. Would this be a cursed idea or a blessed idea? This Kingdom Hearts 4, they recast Chip and Dale with Andy Samberg and John Mulaney from the movie. Because I'm just saying, if they did a reboot Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers world for Kingdom Hearts, that might be... We could finally get Sonic and Shrek in the same world as Sora. That's all I'm saying. I know. Well, sorry. To be fair, it would not be Sonic. It would be Ugly Sonic. Oh, and also, I appreciate you all from when we mentioned Marvel for no one making a Morbius joke. I'm sure that took a lot of strength. I really just wanted to thank you all. Oh my God. Just imagine that reaction command. Press triangle to morb. Oh no, Sora, he's morbing. Hurry! Obviously there's Valor form, there's Wisdom form, there's Final form, there's Anti-form, and then there's Morbin form. Morbin form is actually, Sora just turns into Matthew Smith from that movie. He doesn't even turn into Jared Leto. So we have a couple of little takeaways that honestly are really fun for me with Kingdom Hearts 4 that I, understandably, not a lot of people really are talking about. But the trailer that we all saw was all rendered real time. It wasn't like pre-rendered CGI nonsense. It was all in-engine Unreal 4. But what was cool about it is they actually announced after that trailer had put out, the game is not going to be made in Unreal 4. The game is going to be made in Unreal Engine 5. So this is basically, if anyone here is not following or doesn't really know how game engines and stuff work, normally when you're switching engines and it's a new engine, that's something to be scared of or think, oh God, it's going to take a long time because they're doing a new engine. Because if people don't remember, Kingdom Hearts 3, one of the reasons it was delayed so long, they didn't start it on Unreal 4. They started it on a proprietary engine, the one they made Final Fantasy 15 on. I forget what that engine is called. Final Fantasy 7 Remake was the same case. And eventually they were just like, this is a terrible engine to make games on unless you're making a very specific Final Fantasy game, which Kingdom Hearts 3 was not going to be that game. So 2 years or so into development, Nomura said, okay, fine, we're just going to bring both games into Unreal 4 because Unreal 4 is much more used There are so many games that use it. Tekken uses it. Street Fighter uses it. Obviously, Fortnite, stuff like that. There's a lot more dev tools out there to make development easier. It's a learning experience because you're all working on this common engine, and it works on a lot of different hardware. The thing with Unreal 5 that's nice is it's basically Unreal 4, but on crack. It's the way you make it still the same. Everything is just easier, more connected, and ready for more powerful systems, hence why it looks, obviously from what we've seen, a lot better than Kingdom Hearts 3, and not like Kingdom Hearts 3 is any slouch in the visual department. So, obviously, another thing that not said that much, but things do change in terms of development teams. It is still the Osaka team, so the team who made Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop, 3, that's the team who's making 4. I guess random bit of trivia. Does anyone know what the Kingdom Hearts 2 team ended up doing and becoming, out of curiosity? So it kind of like became like a weird wishy-washy of development teams and stuff. They became the 15 team. Ironically, the team making 16 was the 14 team, and the team making Final Fantasy VII Remake is the Final Fantasy 13 team. So nothing makes sense over at Square Enix, but I always really like, so there'll be people, obviously, who will make fun of Final Fantasy 13 and then say they love Final Fantasy VII Remake. They're very, very different, but it is fun of just like what these teams are kind of capable of and stuff like that. By the way, another moment of honesty, please. Who had to Google who's the girl from the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer? That was my favorite thing to see on Twitter of people who are like, I don't know who this blonde lady is for whatever reason. So I will not explain to you the story of Strelitzia, but does everyone know that she was in Kingdom Hearts 3? She is the either the first or like the optional voice you can find after Sora at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 the first time. And she's basically a disembodied voice, and she is a very integral part to the story of the mobile games, and assumingly so will be a driving factor for this next saga we're about to start here. I thought that was really, really cool of them bringing her into it. I don't expect her to be like, it's kind of weird, because Kingdom Hearts, especially with female representation, has been so messy and uneven. I would like her to be an integral part to the story, but I just can't see her like fighting alongside you, you know? Like, she seems like someone who would just kind of like talk to you maybe through like your gummy phone. God, I hope he still has the gummy phone. Shout out to, like, if they stick with Kingdom Hearts 4 and they still have the loading screens that's fake Instagram, that's just going to be the most committed thing ever. Or if they want to be like really cringy, they'll have Kingdom Hearts TikTok knockoff, and it's just six second loading screens of like, here's Pete falling down in Disney Town. There you go. Here's your loading screen. No, oh my God, the really cynical answer, it's just 6 second ads to Disney Plus. That's all the loading screens are. Have you seen the new season of Obi-Wan? Click this link now. What's in the box? That should be like its own slide of like, do you like, all right, to be fair, who forgot about the box? The Master's box. That's like one of those things that like, I hope that's just not a stupid plot. Look, the Master of Masters plot, I really hope they don't drop the ball with, because like they're really teeing it up like when we find out who Ray Chase is, we're gonna like have our minds blown. Like, it has to be someone new. For the love of God, it has to be someone new. Like, the only time where like the last twist for like Kingdom Hearts like really blew my mind. And I assume everyone here beat 3 and Remind before coming in here, otherwise close your ears. The Zigbar twist, that blew my mind. The Zigbar, like, no one can be like, oh, dude, I knew that. Well, I knew the eye patch the whole time. Like, no. The Zigbar twist, that's like a M. Night Shyamalan level, what the heck. But I like that, because the whole thing with Organization 13, on paper, Organization 13 should be 2 interesting characters and the rest are all forgettable bosses. But like every one of them, there's like, okay, outside of like Dylan and like the other like gatekeeper guy, like there's 2 forgettable ones. But like, yeah, like they made the musician guy someone I care about, even though he's a stupid coward. They added, oh my God, Kingdom Hearts 3 makes the card playing guy integral to the story. They made the guy whose whole thing was, I play cards, I like to gamble. That's his whole story in Kingdom Hearts 2. And they said, no.
He's important.
He's playing 4D chess right now. He's like honestly, like that's my worry would be like, that's who the master is. Is like, that's why he knew all along. Like, think about it. Right now in Kingdom Hearts 4, Sora has that card he got in Remind. Because remember, Luxord gives him a card. Hold on to this. You'll use this. And you know that card's going to come out at the end of Kingdom Hearts 4. Like, he's going to die, and it's like a Phoenix Down card, and he'll have to use it and be like, oh, it all paid off after. But, like, I love stuff like that, of, like, callbacks to forever ago and silly little dumb things like it. But, yeah, Organization 13 always, like, outside of those, like, few couple of characters, because, like, in reality, you can't give everyone equal screen time. It's just so funny of, like, there's no character you could tell me in the cast of Kingdom Hearts that'd be like, really? That's your favorite? Because, like, everyone's special for so many different reasons. Like, even Ienzo was, like, someone who went from cool Hot Topic employee in Chain of Memories to, like, dorky scientist guy. I love that, like, that's understandable character progression for me.
Break down and cry in front of Ansem the Wise was pretty about the three.
Yeah. Oh man. Like, yeah. So many different things like that. But so I hope at least the cast grows in a understandable size with 4. But it is at least nice. One of my favorite parts with the 4 reveal trailer was going back to Donald and Goofy in the underworld. Because it's like, hey, it'd be really easy to do a clean break and get rid of all of those characters and have it just be Sora, Riku, Yozora, and like Strelitzia, and just get a whole new cast. But it's like people, and like obviously Nomura and them know this, people want closure for so many of these characters. Like, we've got to know, like Kairi, we can only give her so many second chances. She has to be redeemable in terms of like a fun playable character at some point. Because they
do something and we might have, a good time.
Like, even in her own game, she couldn't even beat the final boss. Sora had to mansplain his way to beat the end of Melody of Memory for her. So we've kind of already done a little bit of this before, but who here is aware of this probably clickbaity screenshot from the trailer? So if anyone here is not aware, this is if you were watching the Kingdom Hearts 4 reveal trailer and like, why are we seeing random forest and grass? Who here knows what planet this is 99% probably going to be? Green hair in the back. Yeah, so if you look, the top right, that is the foot of an AT-ST from Star Wars. And it's not like, oh, it's kind of the foot. No. It's like literally like it's the cup, the wiring, the every like little bit of it. And kind of going back to where Marvel is a little bit more iffy, Nomura has literally talked about he wants lightsabers and Keyblades. And it's like, it seems too good to not be true. Of like, if you had to incorporate some new big twist for Kingdom Hearts 4 outside of, hey, here's realistic looking Sora, or more realistic looking Sora, I think Star Wars is a really, really good opportunity because it has so many different areas to add on to. But I kind of want to hear from you guys. Is anyone here pro Star Wars being added, like anti it? Yeah, you in the back. Mm-hmm.
Like darkness, the Sith and the Jedi.
I mean, I'm going to be real. I think if Sora went to the Jedi Temple and learned about like all their rules, he wouldn't even like bat his eye. Like, you could never be married. He's like, I don't even know what love is. It's okay. I just run around with my homies doing missions all the time. He's basically like a virgin Jedi anyway. Yeah.
I'm skeptical. First off, I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, like
I enjoy it.
they're doing it at a time where like Star Wars is at a weird crossroad where they're an absolute failure for movies most of the time, but they're finally saving themselves with video games and TV shows.
You see, it's funny. I actually will slightly defend a lot of the last movies, a little more than others. I'm not saying they're perfect or great movies, but I think they did certain things right and they came certain things off as well as they could have while using as much space magic stuff that they could get away with. But I don't trust Star Wars in the hands of Square Enix's writers. I don't.
You trust Kathleen Kennedy more than Nomura?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
I think also an important thing to remember, Disney doesn't have like a council for lore. They'll kind of let you do whatever. Do you want Big Hero 6 2? That's what Kingdom Hearts 3's Big Hero 6 basically was. It was Big Hero 6 2. Like, they'll kind of let you, like, it's the company who's known for direct-to-DVD sequels. Like, nothing really matters because we can just make it or retcon it either way. Whereas, at least with Star Wars, I think it's interesting that you mentioned the Nomura thing might ruin it. Star Wars and Lucasfilm have a lore department. You can't mess anything up unless like you're really, really bad or your last name is Palpatine. Like normally you can't mess things up with lore with Star Wars, and I think like they would definitely restrain him. My only thing.
I feel like Nomura would respect it.
My only thing is I would imagine they wouldn't like Lego Star Wars it, where it's like all the movie, like you're not going to see Daisy Ridley. There's not going to be a Rey Skywalker hanging out with Sora. I think they would either have to choose original or prequel or that like in between time, probably, because it's like, yeah, there's so much time for Star Wars that it would be so messy of like, because like you can't just like, oh, it's Star Wars world. Okay, when? Battle before, like, what's the BBY for this world in Kingdom Hearts? Like, there's so much more to really go in there. Like, it's a world with worlds. Also, God, how sad would it be if like it's Star Wars, but it's just Endor? It's only the Ewoks. That's all you get. Yeah.
I want the lead Imperial Star Destroyer in the Unreal Engine 5.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'm here for the Keyblade. I want to see the Jedi Way Keyblade.
Oh my God. Yeah, the design on that alone. Oh man.
Maybe go race down with it.
What? All right, everyone. Place your bets now. What color is Sora's Keyblade? Blue seems too easy, though. You know? No. Taking that, it's plaid. He somehow found a way to make a plaid Keyblade.
He was blue in Tron.
To be fair, you have two choices in Tron. You are either blue or red. But yeah, so like the Star Wars thing with it, I think would be like, again, kind of like the Marvel War. That could be basically its own game. But Star Wars is also able to be small enough and wide enough of like, they could do a animated Star Wars world too. They could have a Clone Wars world. They could have a Rebels world. They could have a world that's just, hey, here's the weird concept art from Star Wars back in the 70s or whatever. There's not a lot of elements. There's not a lot of elements, I think, from Star Wars that would like make Kingdom Hearts worse. Because, like you mentioned, there's a lot of similar themes. The stories are really similar. Darth Vader is basically a Kingdom Hearts boss anyway. Is there anything like anyone else would have that they either wouldn't want Star Wars to do or anything like that of like leave this, like don't cross Star Wars with this part of Kingdom Hearts? Yeah.
How close do you think it'll look / not close to see the gummy ship besides Star Wars ships?
Oh my God. Like, yeah, you can just imagine it, right? Like the gummy ship with an X-Wing or something next to it. Like something like that.
The gummy ship at the end of the Kingdom Hearts 3 closing cutscene. It looks so out of place when it comes up to pick up Naminé from the Hollow Bastion. It looks ridiculous.
The gummy ship is probably one of those weird things they know they can't replace. It's so iconic because it's like, you can't just be like, all right, guys, the gummy economy crashed. We've all got Roblox now. So, like, because it's like, yeah, like the whole point of gummy ships have to look weird because they're all blocks that you find in the world. Like, it's a lore thing. I would love to have known, like, what's Sid's life selling gummy ship blocks? Like, what was that? There's a reason it only did it in one game. Because, like, I can't do this for multiple things for it. Because, like, yeah, like, honestly, by the time we got to Kingdom Hearts 3, if you showed someone the gummy segments, that gummy open world segment, and like, what game is this? You probably wouldn't think that was Kingdom Hearts 3. And it's like, it's this weird thing of they can't get rid of it. Because think of every game that doesn't have the gummy ship, that's always a complaint that comes up. It's like, oh man, I'm only going in between all these worlds and stuff. Because like, Kingdom Hearts is an amalgamation of, it's so much more than just Disney and Final Fantasy. It's like all of these like little things that like if you took out, people would be like mad of. The only thing Kingdom Hearts has ever introduced and then got rid of and then pretended never happened was multiplayer. That's the one thing they'll never go back to and say, all right, guys, you were right, we'll bring co-op back. But any other non-Star Wars predictions? Because like honestly, just Disney stuff alone, like 4 has so many fun opportunities and stuff. Yeah.
Disney animation worlds, like Phineas and Ferb or Star versus or reality.
So I would want that as well. I think the only way you can make it would have to just be the Disney Channel world, of like it's the Disney, because like there's because let's be real, nothing would be more cursed than Sora in the Phineas and Ferb art style. But like it would work with like an amalgamation of other characters, and that's kind of like where my Chip and Dale Rescue Ranger mind went, of like that's how you could have all these different weird art styles make sense and work together. Mine isn't. If anyone else here wants this, please let me know I'm not alone. Because we're getting closer to like realism with the graphical style, I want them, for like unironically, I want nothing more than a Disney Channel live action High School Musical level. Just because it's like, but with that, at least no one's like, what do you mean? I can't fight like Shadow Troy? Oh my God, no. Because think about it. Like, what are you going to do? Beat up Ashley Tisdale as a boss? Hold on, yeah. Sorry, say it again? No, there were moments of they were talking about it, but the whole thing was Disney was weird about the rights of letting them, because you can't like just take a Disney Channel original movie without the act. Like imagine if like they recast, like if we had a Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior level and it's not Brenda Song. Like what are we gonna do? Oh, it's Mulan. Like no, it's Brenda Song. She's the Homecoming Warrior. Anyone else with any other hopefully not crazier predictions? Yes.
Even though there's a Wreck-It Ralph world coming eventually.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that they specifically dumped that in the mobile one because they knew that that would be too expensive to make. Whereas like Disney can get a bajillion different entertainment properties. I don't think that they would actually go through the effort of getting Sonic from games or getting Asteroids or Arkanoid or like all the other, like they're not going to be like, all right, Mario, come be in every console version of Kingdom Hearts 4 except your console. Like, because it would be like with Wreck-It Ralph, there's that expectation of it's not just, oh, it's video games, it's our video game world. Like every video game, everything on the internet, every weird site, like all of it, like.
If it was Wreck-It Ralph 2, just imagine. They have like social media sites. You get the rights for those.
Yeah, Sora's not ready for YouTube and Twitter. Yeah.
Deep Jungle's coming back.
Yeah.
Deep Jungle is like one of the, man, I have such a soft spot for Tarzan. No. The only problem with Deep Jungle though,
They don't have the rights to Tarzan anymore.
well, they never had the rights to Tarzan. They always had to renew them, and there's some funny like stories behind that actually as well. But the one thing that will always rub me the wrong way about Deep Jungle, and I know Yoko Shimomura would agree with me, they should have had Phil Collins sing every song in that world, because like what's more Tarzan than like the entire like soundtrack of just Phil Collins being like 2 words, 1 family, as you just like, it's already like Kingdom Hearts song bait at that point.
Would you be willing to have a Phineas and Ferb world if the Keyblade was called the Keyblade?
Oh yeah, it would have to be a Doofus. Like honestly, the only thing that I would imagine the Phineas and Ferb Keyblade is just Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated building on a handle, and just to be really morbid, the keychain is actually just Perry's tail.
Oh, you can have a character.
Oh yeah, that. But yeah, so like the whole thing with it, like I think like the funny thing of going back to the Deep Jungle one is like I like when there are, and I know it's always messier, like Winnie the Pooh is going to be an interesting one as well. Like, do they bring Pooh back? Because, like, especially now that he's in public domain. But yeah, with the Deep Jungle thing, how many people here knew that Tarzan was actually cut out of Chain of Memories? So Chain of Memories, before it was released, they showed it off. There is a completed Tarzan world in Chain of Memories on Game Boy Advance. That they had the story and everything, and there was sprite art. All that stuff is still there and done. They just had a falling out with the right holders at the time. And that was funny, like from Kingdom Hearts 1 to the first re-release of 1.5 on PS3, Disney and Tarzan, there was never a re-release, there was never a work through together. They were just weird about rights and stuff. And ironically, Kingdom Hearts getting re-released was one of the things, because it's like, you can't re-release Kingdom Hearts without Tarzan. It's not a skippable world.
It's the best interaction between Sora and Donald in all the games.
Yeah, so like, I like when they go out of their way and have weirder worlds, and like kind of going back to what I mentioned with like the High School Musical thing, I liked their attempt, at least for 2 of Pirates of the Caribbean. 3 was definitely a much better realization of it, but like I think it's more fun to like experiment with some of the weirder side of Disney as opposed to trying to go for only action, only like bombastic stuff like that. Because like I think of worlds that like I really love are probably some people's most boring. Like I love Winnie the Pooh, even though it's just mini games and tugging on your emotional heartstrings. Like here's another weird one that I would absolutely love, and also just be another excuse to get Ewan McGregor. Give us a Christopher Robin world. Give us a photorealistic Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin world of like getting up into weird hijinks and having to hide Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends, and they're just stuffed animal creatures and stuff like that. Yeah.
I think what would be really interesting is an Encanto world.
Oh, you know they will have to do either Encanto and or Turning Red at this point. Like either one of those have to be included. Yeah.
I think it's time to bring Treasure Planet
Yes.
and Atlantis.
Atlantis, I think, is the hardest one to make happen, because that one, while it is it's a one that's way more popular. Treasure Planet, though, I think is way more up like Kingdom Hearts' is like alley and stuff of it. Of like, I would love both, but I think Treasure Planet is more unique of like what it's kind of, which is funny because it's just a remake of Treasure Island. But Treasure Planet is like, I think especially for a lot of people who probably grew up in here, like that's out of all the things Disney made a million sequels to, we never got anything else Treasure Planet because of how hard it bombed. But I think it would be so perfect of like, it's one of those properties you can do whatever you want with, because it's its own world, its own universe, its own cast of characters. Yeah.
Funny thing about Treasure Planet too, they actually have a script.
Oh yeah, it's done. It's done.
On the internet.
It's done. They just never got to do anything with it.
Because it bombs, so they can make a combination of the two in a world.
Incredibles is a weird one of like.
More Big Hero 6, I think.
Well, no, like Incredibles is a weird one of like, it's such a well-loved, and like, because I think a lot of the Pixar ones are hard to adapt in a way that makes sense of like.
Monsters Inc. didn't work.
I liked Monsters Inc. It definitely was like a lot more limited than probably like people didn't want to just be in the factory, but I at least liked them kind of committing to, hey, it's canon, but you're probably like, I would have rather have had that than a Monsters University level and stuff like that. But like going back to the Incredibles, like it would definitely kind of work, but it goes back to like, doesn't this just feel like what we've done before? How would they do that art style? Please don't do anything from Incredibles 2. I'm not a fan of that movie in any way, shape, or form. Like, so like maybe just make a world out of them fighting the Underminer for an hour or something. Like there's where I honestly, I love Pixar, but yeah, I think there's definitely a lot that they, outside of, like I said, Turning Red, there's not a lot that I would kind of want them to go into. Like, Toy Story was perfect. Even though like the execution was interesting, and that was one of the few ones that they had a lot of involvement with. But like, there's not a lot of like Pixar ones that I think would be easy or make a lot of sense. Because like there are movies that people would love of like, WALL-E could be really interesting, but then what are you just going to do? Fight a bunch of fat people for like 30 minutes with the whole fight? Yeah.
What would you feel about something like Luca?
Luca's a good one, but then Luca, are we just going to beat up the guy who wins the race every year? Like, who's the enemy? Like, what do we do? You know what? I think this is how we include Luca. Luca is the second chef for the new minigame in one. So no more Remy. You just get to make pasta all the time. Only pasta dishes for Kingdom Hearts 4. Although I would absolutely die if we could, and I forget his name, but the dad with the basically eyebrows for eyes would be perfect for Kingdom Hearts. Yeah.
I was going to say Ratatouille world.
Ratatouille proper is so hard. I think no one loved that Remy was only in it as the cooking minigame one. My only actual problem though with him in his representation with 3. They could have got Patton Oswalt. Why didn't he talk? Why couldn't we hear Remy talk for, out of all the characters they give Scrooge McDuck a voice? Actually, that's another one. Where's the DuckTales world? Scrooge McDuck has been in this series for so long, and also another fanboy reason I just want David Tennant to be in it. It would have to be new DuckTales, yeah.
Would you want an updated version of Dewey and Louie then?
Yeah, 'cause I think honestly the new world they did would be absolutely best with it. Any other last minute suggestions? Gargoyles could work. Gargoyles is it's visually distinct enough, it's gritty enough. They could do a really cool take, and honestly, just seeing Gargoyle version of Sora, Donald, and Goofy would be absolutely perfect. But yeah, thank you guys. We pretty much just hit over our hour mark. I appreciate you all letting me goof off with you and talk about Kingdom Hearts 4 for way too long. Enjoy whatever is left of the convention at this point. If you enjoyed this panel, don't boo me, I guess that's all I ask. If you are all sick of having nothing new Kingdom Hearts in your life, I have 2 recommendations I meant to make slides for. I cannot recommend enough the Kingdom Hearts 3 manga. It's really slow, but it's really good. Just to put in perspective how slow it is, Volume 1 came out 2 years ago. Volume 2 just came out. So if you also were sitting there and wondering, do any of the Kingdom Hearts mangas are really, really good, there's also a gigantic omnibus of 12 novels they collected for all of the past Kingdom Hearts games, including the mobile games. I'm working my way through them right now. They're really, really well written. They don't skip Tarzan. They got the rights for Tarzan novelization, so they're at least doing a good job there. Anything like that, like I said, outside of playing the games and stuff, there's so much Kingdom Hearts stuff always happening out there. I can't ever recommend enough. Yeah.
Can I recommend someone?
Yeah, go for it.
Regular Pat. Just all of his content is Kingdom Hearts things. I don't recommend it.
All right, say the name of it again.
Regular Pat.
Oh, Regular Pat.
Regular Pat.
Gotcha. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming and hearing me gab for way too long. Have a good rest of your day.